Alright, so let's learn how to do a website. Alright, so here is our last topic, right? If you go to my website, if you would like the notes, and here are all the files we'll need. And then I want to make a note, this is the last topic of today, but it will have a homework assignment. So we'll go over your website challenge, but this will have an assignment where the other ones did. We need to go to Google Sites, so let's open up a new tab. Let's go to our app launcher, right, our 3x3 matrix. All right, I've already created some sites and have them shared, so yours is going to look a little different. I want to go to the left and create. Okay, now here is, we're going to do a blank template because I'll explain how to change all that stuff. But your site name, this is where I need it to match your Gmail. So first letter of your first name, so first initial, last name, NWU. And then that's it. That'll be your website. Right. And then click that you're not a robot. And then you have the quiz. I forgot about the quiz to prove that you're not a robot. But take the quiz. Here. So let me do. So once you take your quiz, then you're going to go to the top, kind of middle, and hit create. Okay, so this is the basic, your basic layout. It's going to look a little different than mine because I've changed my temp. So now, and keep in mind too, these are all free. So if you want to create, I don't know why you would, but a website for every single class or any activity, you can do whatever you want. So always keep that in mind, always free. Okay, so a few things to recognize on our website. So here we have, just our home page. We have a little pencil looking thing, and this is great in Google. Anytime you see the pencil or the pen, it means you can edit. All right? You have a page with a plus sign, which means we can create new web pages. Remember, Google is the gear always means settings. So here's where we have more stuff, okay? And we'll go through all that. And just like Google Documents, just like we did for the Google Docs in our Drive, you can share your website. Let's click Share. All right, so then you can see we have the exact same. We have a lot of peripheral stuff that's weird, but this middle stuff is the exact same thing. If we want to add people, we can type in their email addresses. We can give them permission now to edit our site or just to view our site. Okay, we can also give them permission to be owners, right? So we can designate them owners of our site, which means they can do whatever they want. Okay, same idea. If you want to go more kind of public, you hit change, and now anyone in the world can view my site. I can change it to anyone with a link, and then I can change it to nobody at all. All right. It's the exact same kind of share thing that we saw in the Drive, which is nice for Google. So that's how we can share stuff. So if you want people to be able to edit your site, I don't know, being the teacher, I'd recommend that, but I'd have your students share their site with you. And so let's go back to our home page. So now we just go to this nice little arrow with JTkin, right? NWU. So those were our kind of toolbars up top. We always have the name of our site here, and we can click this at any time to go back to the home page. Right? You don't see it now, but you will. This little blank area is actually our navigation bar. It's called the sidebar, and it's where, well, you'll notice on my site, where all this stuff is.
Oh, okay.
And you just can't see it because we don't have anything there, and it's white right now. Okay. This area right here, from home all the way down to comments, this is your actual page. So when I talk about web pages, it's this little bit right in here. So when we make new web pages, when we change things, everything else on the peripheral will stay, except this inside will change to the new web page. So let's change our theme. So right now you'll notice I have, kind of a bluish gray border with a brown background. We can change that to anything. Let's go to our gear. So these will be our settings. And here we have a lot of stuff we can do, right? We can change our page settings, we can print the page, copy the page, and all this stuff is fantastic. Right? And we'll talk about a lot of this. But you need to make a note, the two places you're going to live is this edit site layout and manage site. And when I say those, we're going to do the manage site once, and that's where a lot of the settings come in, but your edit site layout's going to be how you create your sidebar, create all your navigation links, all this stuff. So the edit site layout is the biggest part. Okay? But for now, we're going to do manage site layout, and we're going to go back to that nice little screen where we saw that the sharing stuff. Okay, this peripheral is all the same. So here you can change your site name if you want. And there's a lot of stuff in here, so you can read through all this stuff. There's even a button here to check that this is mature content. So if you want to make a wildly inappropriate teacher website, you can do that. But you can look through all this. The one thing I would say is the mobile. I'd go all the way down to the bottom, and I'd click on automatically change the site to a mobile. So, you'll notice, just looking at your computer screen, the dimensions of your computer screen are different than your phone. And so what this will do is it'll automatically convert your images or your website to phone. Okay, so, and you can read through that kind of stuff. We'll save it. I made changes, so I'll save them. And then you'll notice I still have the save button, but it told me that my changes have been saved, so I'm good to continue. Okay, now on this left side, so you'll notice even here, Google is using that format. Here I have toolbars up top. This is the actual web page in the middle, and here's the navigation bar on the left. Okay, so here's the sidebar. And I can get recent site activity. I can click pages. And this is a nice one when you start creating pages. If you don't have links somewhere, if you click pages, it'll actually show you all the pages you have created. And right now we only have one page, a home page. Right? And you'll see when we start creating more pages, they'll all be here. So if you ever want to look to see what all your pages are, just go to this manage site. Okay, attachment, page templates. We can create our own templates. We can delete stuff. Here's the sharing, which is just what we did with that share button. Okay, what I really want to get to is this themes, colors, and fonts. So all the way down at the bottom. Right? So that's the kind of the point of this. So the two things I do in the manage site layout, or manage site, is the themes and colors, and then check my pages. Okay, so now, and again, I can't stress this enough, it's the same layout. We have toolbars on the top, sidebar for navigation on the left, and then here's the new web page. So now what I can do is I can change my themes. So you'll see right below base theme, I have a nice little drop down box. Okay, and out here is you just pick one, and you'll see it changes your theme. So they have pre-programmed themes. I guess take a couple minutes or so and look through your themes and pick a theme you like. One thing I will say, even though there are dozens and dozens, if you don't like those, you can go to browse more themes, and then you'll get dozens and dozens and dozens of different themes. So you can do it by, business, by school and education. I would take a couple minutes and just pick a theme you like. Okay, so now we'll go below. So now here we have kind of in our web page, we have different settings we can click. So if I do the entire page, this is how I can change the colors, the backgrounds, the fonts, all that stuff. So here right now, background is set to my theme. I can either have none, or I can click the little bubble and change the color of my background. So you can see it just changed from brown to this blue. My hint for you is, if you're not sure what this does, just click it and change the color. And you'll see, so right now I know that's that background. So I don't like that, I'll change it back to my theme. The wrapper image actually would be, you can do a picture around the border here. So where I have brown, you can put a picture. So it'd be the edges of a picture. All right, so text. Let's do text. So you'll see all my options now are changed. So font, right? But I could change the font from, whatever I have now to normal or Georgia or anything, just like any Google Doc or Word doc too. But again, if it's a color, I would change it and see what it changes. Let's change it to red. Well, there you go. So it changes all my stuff to red. Okay, so that's, if you're playing around with it, I would just suggest change stuff, see what happens. One thing I will show you is the link color. Okay, so right now the default for my theme at least is blue. I can always change, so anytime I do a link, it highlights my text in blue and puts an underline, and I can change that color. All right, but the thing is, you can't change individual links. You can if you go into the code, but you can't with this. So you got to pick a color you like. Once you do that, you'll see there's a visited color. So you'll notice if you go to other websites, when you click on something, it changes the color. Usually the default's purple. So the world default is links are blue and clicking on makes them purple. So you can do that too. All right, or you can keep them to the theme. All right, but that's the deal. So you can change the site header, all the content, all that stuff. You can change the color, the font, all that stuff. Okay, so manage site is where you change pretty stuff, I guess, the fonts, the colors, all that stuff. And if you want to save your changes, you save. If you want to clear everything, so if you make a bunch of changes and you don't like any of it, clear it all, go right back to the default theme. All right, so I'm just going to cancel. I don't want to save anything. All right, but that's our managed site where we can change all of our colors and things. All right, so themes, colors, and fonts. Let's talk about editing a web page. So again, remember, here's the top is the name of my site, and here's my sidebar. This is the page. So what I want to do is edit the page. In Google, the pencil or pen is edit. So let's click edit. Now you can see I have two things that pop up. Right? I get a whole menu bar with toolbars, and I get different spaces now in my web page. Now I can type. Right? So I can put whatever I want in my web page now. So now your web page is just like any kind of Word document or Google Doc. All right? And in fact, we can change things just like anything. Okay, so the first thing I can do is I can insert. So on my page, I can insert images, links, all this stuff. And we'll talk about gadgets and the Google apps later on. But for now, just realize you can insert a lot of stuff. Okay, and we're going to start by inserting an image here in a second. We can do formatting, so just like anything, strike through, superscript, subscript, a line left, a line right. We can put tables in, which we'll do. We can change the layout. So let's start with actually the layout. So let's click out, and you'll see I have the name of my page, which I'm never going to be able to change how that's laid out. But here is my web page part that I can change. You see it's just one big box. If I go to layout, here's just one column. I can click and change it to 2 columns. And you can see now there's 2 columns, right? Or I can change it to, 3 columns. All right, so then and you can see I can type, right, in each column. So it's just a way you can lay out things. And if you typed in these columns and you don't like that, you can always go back to one column and it'll mush everything together. So you can change the layout, which is nice. Help is just help, right? If you need questions answered, you can just type in your questions. Okay, on the toolbar itself, the back arrow is undo, right? The front arrow is redo. Here's our font, so we can change between these 6 fonts. Here's our font size. So let's take a web page and let's make it, 16. And then let's put a space between this is my web page and this is column 2. And let's take this and we'll bold it. I don't know. Let's italicize my. You can see it's just like everything else. Column, maybe I underline. I can change any of the fonts to different colors. Right? And the last one is highlighting, so I can highlight everything. Let's do this one. And highlight it. Right? So font type, font size, bold, italicized, underline, font color, and then highlights. And then the gear we'll get into is this link is going to be a big deal, and we'll get into that. Here's where you can actually do your numbers, right? So you can do by number, and it's just like any kind of document, right? You can do bullets just like any kind of document. I don't know why I did letters and then numbers all of a sudden. You can indent the bullets with these 2 buttons, right? You can align them and all that good stuff. My favorite button here is if I highlight all this stuff and I hit this TX, it gets rid of all the edits. So you don't have to do one at a time. And the last thing, which we're not going to get into, is when I talked about you can change the color of individual links, this is how you do it. Here's the code. And so it'll write out the actual code that the HTML uses. And you can go in here and search for the code. It gets a little hairy, but we won't talk about that. But that's how you can change individual things. So let's do this. Let's get rid of everything except for this is my web page. All right? And then anytime you make changes, you have to save them. So go to the top right and hit save. And you can see it says it has saved it. So now let's put some stuff in it. Let's embed links. Let's do some pictures. So let's go to my website. Let's go down to topic 3. And I'm going to want all 4 of these. I'm going to want to put picture 1, example file 1, 2, and 3 on my website. So which means I want to put them in my Google Drive. So let's start by downloading all of these to the desktop. All right, so let's take picture, and then I'll download this to my desktop. Okay, so let's edit and we'll insert some stuff. So I want to edit my web page. So I want to go to the pen or pencil and edit my page. So the first thing let's delete this as my page. Okay, and I want to insert that pictures. And here it wants to know what image. I don't have the image I want. I want my dog picture. So I'm going to upload an image. And then this one is actually going to go right from my computer. Right, so that's why we downloaded it from my site to the desktop. And then it's called picture 1. Right, so I'll choose it, hit open. All right, so once we upload, we choose whatever picture. I have a few here, obviously one's doubled. And I just pick the one I want to upload and I hit OK. Right. And then you'll notice it's okay, it's ginormously big. So let's go into our little toolbox here. So we have these buttons. Here I can align the pictures, but here's small, medium, and large. Let's click the small. You can see that's how I resize my pictures. So small, I can do medium, and then the large looks nice. You can do it by %, or the original was that ginormous one. Okay, but that's how we change the size. Here we can just do wrapping text and stuff. If we click this remove button, it's going to delete the picture. Okay, so if you want to ever delete a picture, you can either just highlight it, hit delete, or you click on it and then hit the remove. Okay, this URL is where the picture itself is located in Google servers. If I ever wanted to change it with links and stuff, I can do all that. Once I insert my picture, I just click out of it. Okay? So I don't hit the X. That's the weird thing. We hit X's in everything else, but this X will delete the picture. So now you'll see my cursors on the side. If I just enter a couple times, then I'll get some space. So that's how we insert pictures. All right, let's insert an embedded link. So here's my piece of advice is anytime you would link anything on your website, I would do it from my drive. Because then we can do that cool thing where if I link it 10 times, I change the one thing in my drive and it changes all the links. And you'll notice, and I don't talk about this because I dislike it so much, there's an add files here. I can always click on this and add files. It just puts them in a line. I think it looks horrible, but if I want to change that, I have to change the file and add it again. Where if I put one file in 10 different places, I'd have to change all 10 files. So I would always recommend put everything in your drive and link everything from your drive. Change one thing, it'll change everything. So what I want to do is, and now you can link anything to anything. Pictures, words, doesn't make any difference. So I'm going to call this example file 1. Right? And now what I want is, I want someone to be able to click on example file 1 and pull up example file 1's document. And that's what we do with links. So now again, I would recommend put everything in your Google Drive. Here's example file 1. I click it, but I have to know the link. I have to know where Google has stored this, and that's where I click this link. And you can see this is the link right here. All right, so I highlight it. I can hit Control C, so I copy it. All right, and now when I go back, before I go back, let me tell you a couple things. You can turn the links on and off. So if you have linked something to your Google Drive, you don't want people to see it anymore, you turn off the link. If you want them to see it, you turn back on. So you don't have to keep deleting links. It's a nice little addition they've made. And then this again is just the where the Google houses on its server. Okay, so once I have my link, I go back to my website. I highlight what I want to link, and it's nice because I do the exact same link. Okay, and now what I want to do is I want to link a web address. So anything in my Google Drive has a URL address, a web address. So I click it and then I paste the link right here. So here's what the text will say. This is what I'm linking. Here's where to go find the actual document. It's up to you. I like to click this button so anytime they do a link, it'll open up a whole new tab. It won't overwrite your original tab, you get a whole new tab. It's not a big deal. It turns out though when we start doing things like Google Sheets and stuff, if you're in a tab and you start going back and forth between things in the tab, backspace won't get you back to your original page. It'll go through all the things that you clicked, which is highly annoying. So I would always recommend a new window. Right? And then here you can see the URL address. If I want to change the link, I just click change and I can upload, I can cut and paste a new link. If I want to remove the link, I can just hit remove. Right? But you'll see now it's actually highlighted and it's got a line under it. This is a link. All right? So now if I hit save, you'll see if I go to that example, it pulls up my document. And that document is linked to my drive. So now if I change the document in my drive, it changes the document that this is linked to. That's how I can get 100 links to one document and change one thing and change 100. That is a lifesaver if you're doing a website for teaching. All right, so that's how we can do embedded links. I call them embedded because you can't see the URL address. Could I have, and actually students do this and I take off points. I already have it as my copy. So could I have just pasted the link here? Yeah. Look how stupid that looks though. Nobody does that. So when I talk about embedded, I mean this link is right in there and you can't tell. All right. Okay, so that's embedding links. A few things you can do, right? You can insert other things, I don't know, horizontal lines if you want, right? To break things up. Nothing wrong with that. You can do, let's see. What else? Well, we could do any of this stuff. You could do a table of contents. You could do sub-page listing, and when we start to do our sidebar, you'll see what all that means. You can do text box, HTML. So we'll talk about all of these when we do gadgets, but just keep in mind that you can actually insert a lot of different things. Okay, we're going to live with these links though. So what I'm going to have you do is insert pictures and links. All right, so the links are going to be the big deal. If you want to get rid of something, you can just click it and delete it. So like the horizontal bar. If I want to get rid of any of this, I just delete it. If I'm unhappy with something, then I just hit, either Control Z with a Mac or the back button, and it'll, bring back all my stuff. One other cool thing for this, you can actually insert a calendar. This will be on my Google Apps, and we'll talk about this a little more when we do our Google gadgets and stuff. But this will insert a Google Calendar based on your Gmail account. Let's say I do this, all that stuff. You'll see it'll put in my Google Calendar. Right, so as a teacher, then I would go to my Google Calendar, and that's how I change it. And again, we'll talk more about that when we get to the gadget part. Click, and then I hit the X, and it gets rid of it. Okay, so that's how we can add stuff to our page. Let's do tables. So let's get a little space here, and let's insert a table. So when I insert a table, I can do, how many rows and columns I want. So let's do a 2 by 3. Okay, and you can see I have a nice little table. I like tables a lot because they can separate my documents and stuff so they're not all jammed together. So if you do a table, if you click on any cell, grab any one of these boxes and you can move it, up and down, however much you want. So you can change the shape. All right, so any one of them, they'll change the shape. All right, so I can make them bigger and smaller, all that good stuff. And I can always, now anything I can do on my web page for edits, I can do in my table. So if I want to highlight all those and align center, I can do that. It actually, and we won't talk about this, you can align vertically, but you can't do it through the toolbars. You have to go into HTML and change the code, which is a little weird. And that's one thing I'll tell you is Google HTML is very finicky. Sometimes weird stuff happens. When I was changing my site for this class, every time I changed anything in here, it shrunk the tables. It just did this weird thing. And then it would add tables here and there. It just does that stuff. So you just take a breath, realize it's all free, and you thank Google for creating all of it. That's how we change our cells. We can, obviously, just like anything, we can type anything I want in here. And once it's in here, I'm free to link anything I want. Right? So I can link things inside tables. I can link things to any kind of text. All right? I can, if I want, when I go to table, I can either insert a row above or below. So if I insert a row above, I get a new row. I can insert a column left or right. I get a new column. I can delete rows and columns. All right, so that's how we get rid of things. I'm a big fan of organizing your websites. And I like tables a lot. Okay, so remember where we save. All right, so we've learned how to adjust or edit our actual web page itself. We insert stuff, we do links, and we can get tables. Now let's talk about how to actually create web pages. All right, so we have 4 different types of web pages. Right? And so for this now, we don't want to edit our page, we want to create a whole new page. All right, so we go to create page. Now we're going to name our page. So we're going to do web page 1. All right, and I can name it whatever I want. So this drop-down menu, Google lets you create 4 different types of pages. An actual web page, which is just like the one we were doing. It lets you do an announcement page, so you can post announcements. A file cabinet, so you can just actually have a lot of documents in it. Or a list, so this is kind of like a checklist, like a shopping list almost, where you can list out things and check off if you've done them or not. Okay, we're going to do all 4. So let's do web page. Okay, I want to put it at the top level. So right now we're going to put everything at the top level, and I know that doesn't make sense right now, but it will when we do our sidebar. Okay, and now I hit create, and now you'll see this doesn't say home anymore, and you don't see my dog or all the stuff we did because this is a new page. Okay, so now let's type, this is a new page. Right, no cool dog. Right, and so now here's my page. All right, now my problem is I have 2 pages here and I have no way to get to them. So I have created another web page, but I have no navigation over here. So before we get to the other web pages, let's learn how to navigate. Okay, so now to navigate, this is going to be the button that I talked about before. Edit site layout. Edit site layout is going to be by far the most important menu item. So I hit edit site layout, and now all of a sudden you see I get all this cool stuff. Okay, the first is I get a header. And these are just toggle buttons. You either turn them on or off. So now if they're depressed, they're on. You want to see what they do? Turn them off. And you'll see, give it a second, and it'll get rid of what it did. So the header is gone, but I like my header. I'm going to keep it. Okay, you can have a horizontal navigation bar instead of a vertical navigation bar. My sidebar is on. I can customize a footer. I can actually change the width of my entire web page. Right? This is my theme default, but you'll see if I customize it. Let's go to 300 pixels. See, I made it real tiny. So I can change the width of my actual web page, right? But I'm going to stick with default. Okay, but the key here is these are toggle. If you want to see what they do, click them. All right, what we're going to do is the sidebar stuff. Okay, so we need to edit the sidebar. So what I need to do is, I have 2 choices here. On my sidebar, I can edit the sidebar itself. That's the pencil, right? The pencil always means edit. If I click that, I can display my sidebar on the left here, or I could display it on the right over here. I can also change how wide my sidebar is. So sometimes if you have web pages with long names, you don't want them to wrap text, make the sidebar bigger. Okay, so it's all one line. And I'll show you, I'll get back to that, but I'll show you on mine, I had to do that here. So graded work fall and spring was very large. Or even here, the class materials for spring. See how it wrapped the text? Yeah. If I don't like that, what I can do is edit site layout, change this, and I'll change the width. So maybe I'll make it 200 pixels. And you can see it's no longer wrapped. So if you like that kind of stuff, it depends on your personal preference too. Okay, all right, so now we go back. Now we can also do is create new menu items, new sidebar menus. So if you look on mine, I have 1 class, 2 class, 3. These are 3 sidebar menus. All right, so that's how I can do all this stuff. So I'll hit the plus sign. I can add a +1, right? So visitors can actually literally click the +1 and I'll get a tally of who liked my site. So let's add that. Let's just see what it looks like. Okay, so here's a Google +1. So they can click it and it means they like my site. I can add a navigation bar, and this is the key. This is where we're going to live too. Our navigation bar is what's going to link all of our pages. Okay, so I want a navigation bar. All right, and you'll see it's a nice little navigation bar. So here I have the sidebar, which is the whole thing. And in my sidebar, I have a nice little +1 button, and I have a navigation bar. And anytime I hover over them, you can see they pop up with these kind of this black header and this bluish box, which means if I click that, I can edit it. So if I click anywhere on it, I can edit it. I can change the name, and now here is where I can change what's underneath this navigation bar. So here's where I'll add my web pages. I go to the sidebar, I do a new navigation bar, and now here's where I'll add my pages. And here's my list of pages. So I'm going to put web page 1, I'll click OK, and now I'm saying underneath this navigation bar, put web page 1. Okay, and let's change this to my web pages. All right. And now I hit OK. Okay, now if I close this, you'll see 2 things. I have a +1 that people can hit, and now here is the actual web page itself. All right, so now if I go to my home page and I click page 1, I'll go to page 1. If I wanted to, the home page isn't here. So let's go to edit site layout. Remember when I hover, I get to change whatever I want. And now let's actually add another page, and let's add our home page. Okay? And let's say I want home page to come above. That's what these arrows are for. I just scroll up, and home page is above. So now when I hit close, I have 2. Right? So I've actually saved it, and I've closed it, but it's acting weird. It shouldn't be doing this. But again, sometimes weird things happen. If weird things happen, our default is to refresh our browser. And then you can see I'm fine. Okay, so now I can go to home. In home, I can go back to web page 1. So that's how I actually do my site navigation, my sidebar, and that's how I get all these pages. All I did was edit site layout, created new web pages, and put them all in there. Let's do some more stuff. So let's do, again, edit site layout, because we get some more junk. Let's do our sidebar. I want to add more stuff. Do our plus sign. So navigation bar. I can actually just add text. Right? So let's add text. And you can see there's my text box. So when I hover, I click, and I can edit. So let's just put this is text. All right. So that's the title. So link text. When I hit OK, I'll hit close so we can see what's going on. So now here is actually, it's not a click thing. This is the sidebar header, and then here's what's under it. Right? So now I can actually have I don't know, announcements or small little things. So keep in mind the sidebar is very small. I don't know if I'd put a whole report here. Let's do edit site layout. That's my sidebar stuff. Plus, so not text. I could do recent site activity. I could do my site activity. Students seem to really like the countdown. So if you add a countdown, if I click on it, so event.
What would you use the countdown for?
A lot of times it's end of school.
Ah.
So let's do end of summer school. And what you do is you enter a date. So we're going to end, what is it, June 17th? I don't know, I think I made that up. Okay, and then you'll see, it tells me the days. So
That's
tomorrow
cool.
it'll say 30. So students really like that. At all levels, people like it. All right, I'm going to show you one more thing on, so let's close. So let's go to edit site layout. And you'll notice, I go to my navigation bar, and I can have a ton of these navigation bars. Right? So the thing to remember is your sidebar is where you add new things. When I hover, shows me how many new things are there. Right? And if I don't want things, like this text, I think it's kind of dumb, I just hit the X and it deletes it. Okay, if I don't want my countdown, I'll hit the X, it'll delete it. All right, so all that good stuff you can, delete if you want. I don't know, the +1, I'm gonna get rid of that. Okay, so now I just have my web pages. I'm gonna add one more navigation bar here. Okay, so navigation bar is numbers where we link things to. Okay, so I have one more navigation bar. I'm gonna rename this maybe resources. Okay, and now in this, so what I'm gonna do is not add a web page, I'm gonna add a URL address. So this is how I can actually link things on my sidebar, not to pages, but to documents. All right, so, and I need an address, so I'll come back to this. Let's go to our drive. Let's do example file 2. Let's get the web link. All right, so my links are always the link. I click, I control, I want to copy it. So now when I get in here, I want to add a URL. So I'm going to do that example. So what do I want to link it to? My text example file. Okay, so now when I hit, and I always open everything in a new window. I don't know, that's just me. So now when I go in, you'll notice if I click this, I go to a whole new web page. If I click this, I go to the document. So that's how I can link documents and not pages. All right, so I can put, and it's great for teachers, and we'll go over this when you do your teacher website, but that's where I can do my syllabus, my maybe resources for how to get math help, how to get tutoring help, for parents, maybe a note to parents. So it doesn't have to go to a whole new web page, you can just be a nice click. But then and this is, I know, quick and fast, but again, we'll practice, practice, practice. You're gonna hit that the edit site layout 50 times. You're gonna put tons of links on these. Okay, so let's go through. So now we know how to actually organize our sidebar. We know how to create a web page. Let's go through how to create the other 3 types of pages. All right, so let's do our second page. Our second page is announcements. I'm going to call this announcements. I'm going to create an announcement page. I'm going to put it at the top level, hit create, and I'll explain the top level if I don't remind me. Okay, and now announcement page. So it literally is just a page where you create new posts. You hit new post, and then you type in, whatever. So this is my announcement 1. Hello. Now you'll see on your announcement page, that's my first announcement. Okay, and then I can keep getting announcements. All right. So then I can go to my page. So let me do, I think I might have done that too quickly. You'll notice, here's my announcement. This is my single announcement. This is going to be a sitemap, which lets you know that you're not on the announcement page, you're one level into an announcement. Okay, which means you're kind of, if you think about a file folder, you're in the file folder now. You're not the file folder. So if I click this, I go back to my announcement page. Right? So when I click announcement 1, I go into the file. So I click that little piece to come out of the file, the folder. All right. So if I want a new announcement, I hit post, and then I can just type, announcement 2. I'll change up to high. Okay, and now you can see this is the actual announcement. So if I click this, I go to the announcement page, and here I'll have a list of announcements. Okay, so this is just literally what it is, just announcements. All right, so what I want to do is put that on my website. Right, so right now I have a page but no link. So I'll go to Edit Site Layout. I'll go to the navigation bar where I want to put things. I click. I'm going to add a new page, and then you'll see when it says top level, this is the deal. It's going to put them all in a row, all in a nice vertical line. If it's not the top level, it's going to have things underneath. And you can see that's why when I hit announcement, I'm not on the announcement page, I'm one level into it. Okay, so when I always said you put things at the top level, it's so that you don't have things embedded in pages. You just have a list of pages. Okay, but the announcements there's nothing we can do. The announcements are going to be embedded. Okay, but I want the announcement page. I hit OK. I'm okay with home first, web page 1, and then announcements. If I didn't like that, I just use the arrows to change the order. Okay. And then I hit OK. And I close. And now you'll see I have an announcement. Right? So if I go back to my home page, now I have an announcement link. So students can go to your sidebar, click the announcement link, and find the announcements. All right, let's do our third page. So our third page will be a file cabinet. Let's call it file cabinet. All right, let's create. I'm going to put it at the top level. Right? I don't want to embed it in other pages. And here is just what it sounds like. You can store all your stuff. So you can add a file. So let's go to add file. So off my desktop, let's do example file. I just picked one. Right, so it's right down there. Let's say I want to add example file 2. Right. So it really is just like you're on your desktop creating files of things. Okay, if I wanted to, I can add stuff from my drive. So it goes to my drive, and let's say here I want example file 3. So I don't have to go to my desktop, and I would live in my drive, but that's just my advice because it's easy. All right, we can add links, right? So any link, if you have a URL address, you can add all that stuff. So put it all here. Okay, oh, I don't want to add, I don't have anything to add. Okay, the one thing I think is weird here, I want to put these in a folder, right? But you see how it says move to folder? This is what I click to make a new folder. I think they made that very confusing. So I can't move to a folder because there are no folders, but if I click it, I'll make a new folder. So let's say examples. And now I have an example, so I can click, and then I'll move that to my example folder. Then that's our deal. Okay, so it's just a way to organize large numbers of files. Okay, that's your file cabinet. If you want to delete anything, you click it, and hit delete. All right, and then let it process, and then it's gone. And then you'll see subscribe to page changes. So this is a button that people that visit your website will click. So if they click on it, they'll be able to enter their email address, and anytime you change this page, it'll send them a notification. So again, I have a new web page, so let's put it on our sidebar. Let's edit site layout. Go to my sidebar, but I want to remember highlight the bar, the navigation bar I want to put it under, and then I'm going to add a new page, and you can see file cabinets right there. And that's nice. How about I put this one under the or over the announcements? And then when I close, you can see my file cabinets right there. And again, it's doing something goofy. It shouldn't be doing this because I've already closed and saved. So I just refresh. Right? So if you ever get wonky stuff, just refresh. And now, here's my home page. Here's page 1, my file cabinet, and all my announcements. Right? Okay. Our last page, and that'll be it here, is going to be our list. So we'll just call it a list. All right. Put it at the top level. Again, I don't want it embedded in other pages. Okay, so here's how we get started. And this one, and the thing about Google too, they change things a lot. And they're always going to be changing things. So this area has changed since the last time I've used it, which is just the way it is, right? Okay, so we have action items. We can use a template. Before I click that, let's go back. Oop, not there. So anytime this isn't a bad deal, anytime I mess this kind of stuff up, I just go back to, I'll cancel. And now here's the deal. I've created this page already. It's not on the sidebar. But my page exists, and this is where if you go to Manage Site, Pages, it'll let you know where all your pages are. So my list page, there's no way to get to it unless I do this. So since I messed it up, which is just a happy coincidence, that now I can go here, and now I'm back to my page. Okay, so if you screw things up that they're not on your sidebar, go to Manage Site and then Page. Okay, so here I'm at my action list, so I can just add an item, and you'll notice here I have owner, description. This was a template, all right? So you can actually customize and create your own headings, right? You can do whatever you want. But the idea here is you can just make a list of things. So owner, Keegan, description, list stuff, resolution, not yet. All right? So then it lets me know once we do it. So here's whatever the owner is, all that stuff, and I haven't completed it yet. So for students at least, the owner and description is a little wonky, but you could do homework assignment, this, so I could do class, homework assignment, due date, complete. Right? So let's try that. So let's get back to, let's customize my list. So I don't want owner. Let's do that. So let's do class. Right? I want text. Right? So we can have checkboxes, dates, drop down. Like I said, this is all new. This wasn't here before, right? Which is nice. So I'm going to do just text. All right, my description, I'll put assignment, right? Resolution, I'll put due date. Right? All this is text, and then complete, I'll just do a checkbox, and then that's good. So then I'll put save. And so now what I can do is if I add an item, let's do class, so EDSP 2870, so that's our class. Your assignment will be your website challenge. Right? Due date will be 5/24. And then I haven't completed it yet, so I hit save. And now I have a list of things I need to do. Obviously, I need to be able to click and when I complete it. So just highlight or move your little finger to where it highlights, double click it, then I can click complete, and it'll let me know I completed it. So it's a way for students to organize things, or you can organize things. And let's do our last thing is I have a list now, a new web page. Let's put it on my sidebar. So let's go to Edit Site Layout. Again, I have different options. I'm going to put it under this navigation, My Web Pages. And then I'll add my list. And it's going to alphabetize them. So, all right, and I think that's good. I'll just keep it where it is. Right? I don't need to move it. Then I'll hit OK and hit Save. Let's do this. I'm going to show you one more thing while we're here. Edit Site Layout. Let's get rid of this. Okay, let's hit Close. So you'll notice this is all in a line. So they're all on the same level. They don't have to be though. So if I edit the site layout, and when I say that, let me give you an example first. So when I go to my website, it's this. So see how they're all on the same level? But Class Material Summer has an arrow because I've put web pages on the next level. I've put web pages underneath this web page. So I've embedded them in this web page. So they're on the next level. Okay, so how we do that is we edit site layout because we want to change the navigation bar. I go to the one that I want, so right there. And now you'll see, let's say this is home. I want to put this web page underneath home. I click the right arrow, and that'll put it so it's underneath the home one. So if I want to do file cabinet, I'll go underneath home. And if I hit OK, I always have to close. You'll see now all those are underneath home page. So now if I close the arrow, which I should be able to do, I don't know why it won't let me. Let's see if this works. Always refresh if you can't do something. There you go. So that's how you can embed things. Okay, I want to do one more thing though. So let's say I really like a page. So if you go back to my website, once I create all this, it's kind of like a template. I don't want to create this all again. So what I can do is copy the page. So if I go to my nice little gear, I can either print the page or I can copy a page, which is nice, which means it'll copy all the links, it'll copy everything. I can move the page, right? Or I can delete the entire page. So let's say I don't like this list page. I'm getting rid of it. All right? And so now you can see it's no longer there. And in fact, if we go to Manage Site, Pages, it's not in my list either. Okay, so if you want to delete something, you can just always, you have to be on the page to delete it though. So I have to be on the file cabinet page to delete the file cabinet page. All right, so now that we've finished up a website lesson, so now what you need to do for homework is go to, so the assignment's going to be the website challenge. Okay? And this will be due on Tuesday. And so now what I want you to do is, on your home page, I want you to make a little description. So give me a little couple sentences, maybe a paragraph of what the page is all about. Include any picture you want. I want you to add practice file 1. I want you to change the contents to practice file 1. And when I say that, if you go to my website, here's all the files, right? So practice file 1, here's practice file 2. Oh, and I have a picture. I'm sorry, I want you to do picture 2.
Okay.
Right, so I want you to include picture 2. This is the best thing about Google Docs now. If I want to change it, I just do picture 2. All right, so now everyone that sees it from here on out will see picture 2.
Okay.
All right, I want you to add a +1 button to your sidebar, add a countdown to your sidebar, whatever you want to count down. All right, create a navigation menu, right? And then I want you to create a web page and do all the stuff. Name it web page, right? Include it in your navigation menu, your sidebar. Right, include a table, include a gadget, anything. So when you go to insert, so when you insert, you can include anything you want, a text box, HTML box, a link, anything you want. Okay. So what actually I do want underneath this gadget part, right? And you can go to more gadgets, get more stuff. Right. So here's where you can get calendars, you can get a YouTube connection. Sweet. You can embed stuff. Yeah. And we'll talk about gadgets. Will actually be a lesson. Then I want an announcement page, obviously, right? Then I want a second navigation bar. Okay. So when I say that, like this. Here's my first one with my links. Here's my second navigation bar with my links. I want 2 navigation bars. I don't want them all into the same thing. Okay. And then create a file cabinet, create a list, and do all that stuff. If anybody has any questions, just email me. And always remember that I can, if you allow me permission or give me permission to edit, I can edit your sites while you're watching.